evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Joseph. It's my honor to be the first person who gets to both wish these two so many congratulations on their marriage and also tell embarrassing stories about them. Yeah! Which unfortunately, I think Peter beat me to the punch, stole my thunder on a few of the great stories about Mark and Hannah. But my experience is that...
He has a lot to say, so get comfortable.
Get comfortable, people.
Joey, speak to the back.
My experience is that Mark kind of lives his life through stories. I don't know if they seek him out or he seeks them out or what happens, but no matter where he goes, he ends up with something that makes a good yarn. And I can actually testify to this by relating some of Mark's stories on 3 continents. And everywhere that I tell a story of Mark, there's a pretty common response, which is this guy for real?
The realist.
Most of the time. And how I think I would describe Mark is that he's not always prudent, but he's always memorable. And so what I want to do in the brief or maybe long time that I have with all of you is to relate some of the memorable experiences with Mark that I think are memorable not only because they're funny or strange or quirky or weird, but because they speak to something about his character that I love and admire. So starting out with, I'm going to relate my first experience with Mark and the game of football. So Alex and I, Alex Lancaster right here, decided to join football in 9th grade. We got all suited up, we went out for the first couple of practices, and through the power of peer pressure, we convinced Mark to come and join us. Mark, being the big lad he is, he was severely sought after by the football coaches in 9th grade. They thought he would cause extreme damage. But unfortunately, there was one challenge with Mark. These football coaches had an array of equipment, helmets, all sorts of things. What they weren't prepared for was the challenge of Mark's head. Mark has a cranium that they hadn't witnessed before. So my very first experience of Mark playing football was witnessing 3 junior high school football coaches buttering up his ears, pushing down a helmet, him walking out onto the field slowly turning purple, and in the end playing football and doing a pretty good job at it.
Ergonomic my ass.
And so the lesson that I took from this, and I think is true throughout Mark's life, is that through adversity, he perseveres. Alex and I were done with football by like 6 months from then. Mark stuck it through high school and was excellent all the way through. The second story which I'd like to share with you, in its first version, was slightly different. It started with, Mark is the only man that I've ever kissed.
And when was the most recent?
It turns out that Mark had a surprise for me, which was that he was going to plant one on me during our pictures about 45 minutes ago.
What do you mean was?
He did plant one on me during our pictures 45 minutes ago, but that wasn't my first experience of Mark's lusciousness. My first experience was during our much lauded performance of Romeo and Juliet at Luther Heights Bible Camp. As you can imagine, at a Bible camp, there was some wheeling and dealing that had to be made to get through some of Shakespeare's humor into the church community. Mark, fortunately, was game to convince them that penis jokes and sexual innuendo were perfectly fine for the church-going crowd.
The Bible is filled with it.
And we put on an amazing production with a beautiful climactic moment when he laid one on me, like you would believe. And the lesson that I take from this experience is that Mark is both a keen negotiator, a talented Shakespearean actor, and also a gentle kisser. And finally, I think that we all have experienced, possibly, the raft of stories in which Mark has mislaid something, say his keys. I'll just list off a few for you. My very first high school dance, when Mark was my ride before I had a car. Half an hour late, he calls me up, dude, I can't find my keys. Hour late, he calls me up, dude, I still can't find my keys. Hour and a half late, he calls me up, I found them, they were in my dad's back pocket. Second time, going to the 4th of July parade, Mark is playing drums, I'm playing trombone. He parks his car, immediately locks the door, steps out of it, closes the door. The car's still running. Comes to the 4th of July parade, calls Jeff Bass, who's here somewhere, and says, Jeff, could you go pick up my spare keys and go and turn off my car? Or most recently, at the rehearsal dinner, let's just say, Hannah, if you haven't found a GPS unit that fits onto his ring, I try and figure that out. And
the size small enough, I don't think he can get it off.
Wise choice, wise choice.
Yeah.
And the lesson that I can take from this, that I think also we've all experienced, is that Mark can make us all laugh even in the worst of circumstances. Even when those worst of circumstances are purely his fault. This guy can lighten any mood. Amen.
Yeah.
So now Mark's entering into something that I think is both prudent, unlike some of his past adventures, and memorable, which is his union with Hannah. And I have to say that I couldn't think of anyone better for Mark to be marrying. And so, I'm so glad that you're part of his life and through Mark, part of my life. And one thing that I'm also grateful for is that my wife Biz is also a big fan of yours. Which means that once in a while I'll be able to steal Mark away.
Okay.
And so now I'd like to invite you all to raise a toast for all the good memories in the past and for all the quirky stories that these two are going to create together. Let's raise a toast to Mark and Hannah.
Mark and Hannah! Marcus, Mark. Really nice glasses. Everybody.
Speak up. I haven't started yet.
Coach, I'm late. Sorry. Can't find my keys.
Multiple times.
So the other night, we told a lot of funny stories about Mark, and afterwards, Hannah was like, you guys didn't tell any funny stories about me, but I had saved it for tonight. So when we were younger, my brother brought home girlfriends every once in a while, and Hannah's favorite thing to do was to pick on them mercilessly. I'm not sure why it was her favorite thing, but it was. So he brings a new one home, and we're out in the yard playing, and she just takes off at a dead sprint for the house because there's a girl in there that she wants to pick on. So she's running and running, and she didn't realize that the screen door was shut. So she runs right into it, bounces back on her back, stands up, opens the door, runs in, acts like it never happened. And that's just kind of how Hannah is. She runs straight forward and loves everything she does. And she found a perfect person in Mark.
And the reason that Hannah runs straight into things is because when she was little, Her dad used to carry her like a football. And he would lay her on his arm with her head here. One day he was walking through a door, and he went through the door and Hannah did not. And it went splat right up the door. That's why I'm so pretty.
Oh, the goose that attacked her?
Oh, the goose that attacked
The
her,
one
yes.
goose? There were like 8 geese.
A gang of
One
geese.
attacked her. Go ahead, Kate. The goose that attacked her. So, we lived in Wyoming, in the middle of nowhere, and it was wonderful. It was a great place to raise children, and we had a pond out in the back, and we had a whole bunch of geese, and one day we decided we'd have this party, and we had this big picnic table. So everyone was sitting around enjoying a good time, and Hannah went running across the yard with her stick-on earrings because her mother would not let her get her ears pierced. And we had this little goose that decided that those earrings looked fabulous. And so Hannah went running, and the goose went running, and the goose stood on top of Hannah and was pecking at her ears, trying to get the sticker off.
Oh,
Yeah. And none of the children thought I could run, but I could. I tried to get the goose off of Hannah.
That was a particularly vengeful Easter brunch that year.
Yeah, Easter is the middle of summer.
Well, I don't want to embarrass either one.
I'll toast
I want
to
to applaud you both. You have profoundly changed all of our lives through this day, through your lives. I want to thank you. That's Dave.
Yeah. I think we got some cake cutting in here first.
We do.
Nope.
So we're dancing first?
No, cake cutting?
Oh, I guess we're not done talking.
Sit down.
Please don't.
I'd love to.
No, please don't.
Your turn.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is John. I am the brother of the groom here. So I learned about this awesome happenstance a year ago. They talked about Mark and Hannah's engagement. I was one of the family members that was camping with them. And Mark had come before Hannah, and he told us he was going to propose to her. And that was the hardest secret I think we've ever had to try to keep. We were sitting there at breakfast and through happy hour just like, trying not to mention anything, and we thought you caught on, but you didn't. So Mark comes back from proposing, and he says, "You're not going to be my best man, but I do want you to say something." And ever since that point, I've still had no idea what I was going to say. I've tried writing things down. I've just tried thinking in the shower. Whatever. It hasn't worked. So the following is going to be a little bit stream of consciousness. Many of you might have had older brothers. Mark? Okay.
Not all of us.
Mark was a big brother. Young life was tough. Come on, stand up. Look at his head compared to my head, like Joe already talked about. Also, following Joe, him were debate partners. I have to follow professional speech givers. What is this? Why couldn't I go first? You're doing great. Okay, well, I experienced most of my life knowing Mark as a bigger brother, a roughhouser, and I was very scared of him for a lot of times. That was mostly through elementary school and junior high school. And come high school, Mark started getting into things like football and debate. And, you know, he started dating girls, he started doing different things. And I started seeing a lot of different sides of Mark. One of these sides, I didn't actually personally get to see it. I really wish I could have gotten to see it. And this was a story I heard from him. He related it to me. He said, spontaneously, he decided to sign up for a poetry competition, a poetry slam. Yeah. And he hadn't prepared anything. He had signed up for it. He goes to it, and while everybody else is saying, orating their pieces, he is scribbling on a napkin a poem. He won. Oh, I thought that was supposed to be heartfelt. Funny, yay! When he told this to me, I was blown away. I did not know Mark had this sensitive side. Soon he started playing with Jeff and Alex and Joe and some other people in music, and he was writing a majority of their songs, beautiful songs, great songs.
All of them. Every last one.
The lyrics. Along comes college, and he is helping me do things. Mark I've never seen this man before. He is a rock. He is the man.
The cat's pajamas.
The bee's knees, whatever. And then he introduces me to Hannah. And she is a generous, caring, lovely, smart.
Don't go too far.
You are an incredible sister that I am so glad to welcome to the family. So I want to raise a toast to my brother and my new sister. I love them both very much, and I hope we, drink.
Hey, John, when you have to follow someone like Joe, you don't put yourself on the table with a big man. There's a lifetime worth of material.
Can I propose one more toast?
Uh-oh.
I'm really going through the internet looking for a toast.
Come up here. Come up here, Alan, so we can...
No, I'm going to do it.
Come here. Come here. You got to project with your voice so that everyone can see.
All right. This is a toast that I thought really applied to
On now?
better.
Yeah.
Just face everyone.
Okay, this is a toast that I really think applies to you.
Right. They can hear it. They want to hear it.
Everyone.
So everybody here's a bad toast, but I like it. And here it is. Here's to your marriage, and may it resemble a pair of scissors, so joined that they cannot be separated, often moving in opposite directions, yet punishing anything that comes between them.
You should have stood up. So wait, is it cake time?
It is cake time. And then
Can I do
dancing.
my Marie Antoinette line?
Yes.
Or we have to cut it first?
Oh, yes, but no, Mark. You can say it after you. Yes.
Where are we going?
In there.
All right, let's do this.
Do it.
Let me pound this glass of scotch first.